good, LL Nation? Lucky Lefty podcast. Onora Boys in the building. Brought to you by Onora Whiskey. Man, we're going to have to do a Onora Boys t-shirt with a shot glass or something. Onora Boys in the building. Best way to watch Notre Dame football on Saturdays, right, Left? That premium American whiskey. Premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. And if you drink, by all means, make sure that you do so
responsibly. See, I got the polo today, man. Hold on, other side.
Oh, I see you. Well, you know,
representation.
You know what I mean? You know how we do it.
It's one of them days. It's one of them days.
Polo today, geek yesterday. I can't wait because I ordered us.
Polo thermal? Am I putting you on to something new with the polo thermal, the waffle shirt?
Left. I sleep in those, bro. Come on, man.
I just wanted to know.
Man. Come on, man. All your edibles each and every day. It's the Lucky Lefty podcast.
See how many materials you rock with polo. You know, they got all types of different satin. I heard you had the velour, you know. I just wanted to see if you had the waffle material.
I haven't done the velour in a long time. A long time. Back when Diddy was doing the Harlem Shake. That was the last time I was It's been a while since I've been doing the velour, my man. Lucky Lefty podcast. You already know. We spin it different. Then go to YouTube. The YouTube channel has all live videos, has stored videos, film analysis from Left. You can go watch the film analysis of Deuce Knight and other prospects in the 25 class for Notre Dame. Then on top of that, the thumbs up, smash it for us. We appreciate it. Man, we respond to all comments. I was responding to comments all night yesterday based upon yesterday's show. Fantastic show. Left, you weren't able to you had technical difficulties. So Notre Dame fans just co-hosted with me. Man, they just, they co-hosted with me, Left. They were great co-hosts yesterday.
That's right.
Absolutely. But most of all, the merchandise store is now on the YouTube page.
Yeah, go to the merch. Run it up. I like the Lucky Lefty sleeve with we got flavors now.
And we got some stuff, man. We still have to do our Onora Boys t-shirt. We still have to do our Audio Edibles t-shirt.
Audio Edible t-shirt definitely be hard. Maybe we do Audio Edible earmuffs or something,
We still have to do, one of Malik's food analogies. You know what I'm saying? With the cookbook joints.
Get a Lucky Lefty cookbook. We put it all together.
Man, we put it all together. Lucky Lefty podcast. And what we're going to start doing, we're just waiting, ladies and gentlemen, our samples for things. Man, we have a shirt with 2 leprechauns doing the gritty. That's a spin it.
The gritty alive, huh?
That's a spin it different shirt coming. I mean, we got all types of stuff coming, man. The merchandise is going to be hot. The holiday shirts. Oh man,
all of that,
man.
Valentine's Day shirts coming out. Love and hated shirts. We keep it funky on.
Yeah. Jason Smith, we are going. Love has to do a cookbook.
He had the cookbook coming out.
The dude puts up so many. I wish Left, ladies and gentlemen, help me get on Left, because I wish Left would just take it to the next level.
That's right.
I don't think he knows what he has amongst the Notre Dame fan base. And I think Left, if he just did one video per week.
One video a week.
Of a meal that he puts together. Because the dude is always posting a recipe.
Yeah, always posting the recipe.
Always posting the recipe.
Inspire families to stay together across the country, man. Just find a good meal.
That's it.
Maybe somebody gets inspired, gets up, makes it,
You know what I'm saying? If you just posted one video of a good game day meal.
Okay, here we go. That's
a good game day meal.
Because you got to eat every day, so it ain't
absolutely hard. It will go crazy. And his food analogies are always ridiculous. So today, I don't know if you heard this Left or saw this. It was a tug of war over Riley Leonard and his ankle. Riley Leonard had surgery to clean up his ankle.
Was it arthroscopic?
It was the tightrope thing, the same surgery that Brock Bowers had, Brock came back in like 5 weeks, 4 weeks. Not a big deal, but it was reported by a platform that he could miss winter workouts and spring ball. So, of course, panic went throughout the fan base, right? And then someone from Notre Dame pretty much called the report a lie on Twitter. Like, it's a lie, do better.
I saw that.
All right.
Because that's major to just be missing on.
Yeah, because usually we get behind the scenes texts or emails from Notre Dame. Like,
first time I heard it was on Twitter, which is rare.
Yeah, which is really weird. So, then other platforms came forth yesterday reporting, look, this is the deal. It wasn't a secret that he had the procedure. He's been seen around campus on crutches. He'll be back for winter. It's a 4 to 6 week thing. He'll be back for winter workouts and he'll be ready for spring. Like, relax. This is the thing that confused me, Left. Riley Leonard is scheduled to speak to the media next week. So why, dude, let him.
Why release it before then,
Just ask him the question at his media availability and write the story. And you can write it with the other knowledge that you might have from a source connected to the program and inside the program.
That's that want to be first stuff. We talked about it.
So most of the time, there's 3 sides to a story, right? Their side, and then the truth is somewhere in the middle. I'm just going to sit back and wait to hear from Riley Leonard. Whatever he says, I'm going to take his gospel. Until proven otherwise, I'm going to take his spot. So,
yeah, it's not the news you want to start with.
Yeah.
Even the speculation of it, but it all comes back to being time-sensitive information.
Mm-hmm.
It's time-sensitive because you ain't got a lot of time. You got to maximize 6 to 8 months, maybe less than that, probably 6 or 7 months of your entire time there.
Yeah.
And 5 weeks, you already knocking off due to injury. So you got to add another 4 weeks to that to even get back to normal, whatever that is, to then build off of that. So you're talking about a good 2 of those 6 months of just you recovering.
Let me ask you a question from a football standpoint. Do Steve Angeli, Steve Carr, and Kenny Minchie smell blood in the water?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is, I'm everything I can to get the advantage. I'm running around in circles, I'm hopping on the bike, everything to show ankle mobility. He might catch me in there doing some ankle stretches just so I don't have to catch what he got. Because it's almost like the flu. The injury bug's almost like the flu. Hang around with the guy that's injured too much, it might come off on you. So if I'm Kenny and Steve, I'm doing all the ankle mobility exercises. I'm hitting yoga to get my ankles right. Because you know that those are limiting factors that you can't have. So now, okay, I got to go in mindset. I need to run a little bit more. I need to show that I'm dynamic. Because that's what they loving about this dude. Now he can't do that. I got to show the ability to do that. If I'm Kenny, this is not a Notre Dame team thing. This is I'm trying to start thing. This is the competitive edge of I'm trying to get in there. So if I'm Steve, I might have to run a little harder. Show I can do a little bit more with my legs because that's what y'all brought the other guy in. He can't do it. So this is the time where you have to take the incremental steps, right? Being in a position like this also is pretty much even playing ground. They have a guy who they have an idea who they want to play, but nothing has metastasized yet. So and Kenny and Steve and whoever else is on there, focus on getting better each day with the focus in mind, okay, this is kind of what I assume they're looking for. Like mobile enough, accurate, get the job done. So most of the guys, well, Kenny, CJ, I think the passing, they're at a point where that's one of their greatest strengths. Steve's right in the middle. What got Steve the advantage right now is he has the confidence, somewhat of the offense together, but also he can do a little bit of both. And he's proven it out of all the rest of the guys in the room. So that's just something that Steve has a chip on his shoulder, quote unquote. But then for Riley, it's an uphill battle already, but you even more up the hill you got to go.
Yeah.
So Marcus Freeman, I'm a little nervous, probably not sweating, but I'm getting my handkerchief out and patting my forehead a couple times. Because it's only 6 to 7 months you got. You can only do so much. Yeah, the proven method is 2 years. You trying to do a overnight class and jam it all into 1 year of work. And then you take some injury time. I mean, it's just really early, but also a little frustrating as well.
Lucky Lefty podcast. So coming up, Cam McDaniel is going to join us in about 15 minutes to talk about the recovery, so we can ease the fan base left. He's going to tell us exactly what's happening with the ankle, the recovery time, and how it could impact Riley Leonard's play, or if it does.
Yeah, you're not going to get healthier as the season gets on, but I think it would force Riley to be better in the areas in which everybody thinks he should be better in. His passing.
Which could be a blessing in disguise, right?
It could be the next.
But see, this is my thing, though, Left. I don't want that dude feeling scared to run. Like, dude, if that's the off-script part of your game that can benefit the offense.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he wasn't like he was a 4-3 guy. So you add an ankle injury to about a 4-6 type of guy. He ain't getting away from too many people. I think your game has to evolve every year anyway. Right. So it's a good opportunity to evolve your game. You got the right resources, the right coaches, and good enough players. Those are 3 ingredients you need to make a good meal. For Riley, though, don't burn the food trying to hold on to the football too long or do things thinking that you have to do it from Duke. This is not Duke.
Yeah.
If this was an ankle injury at Duke, I just say they lost 5 games right there. That's just 5 losses right there because you don't got enough, and then you got to do everything and you hurt.
Yeah,
you're missing some pieces here. An ankle injury, you're still all right. Because my biggest thing with him is the chemistry. You're already missing about 2 months of really getting dialed in with guys. You got 4 months after that to make it work. So your talent got to shine through. And that's as healthy as you can be.
Lucky Lefty podcast. Let's talk about it. Year 3 from Marcus Freeman, right? Year 3 historically for Notre Dame coaches has been the year, right? Championship for Frank Lay. Eric Parsetti, championship year 3. Dan Devine, championship year 3. Lou Holtz, championship year 3. Brian Kelly, national championship game year 3. Hey, Marcus Freeman, I'm not saying, but
I'm not saying nothing.
I'm not saying, but I'm saying.
And Notre Dame gave you a nice little T-ball with this schedule. So the regular season, we ain't even look. Notre Dame lobbed you one. They said get into the playoffs with this now, and after that, it's on you. 4 games to make it happen. I think it's like obviously go back to different grading scale, in my opinion, because of the playoff system. Dan Devine, Lou Holtz, Brian Kelly didn't have to go through that.
Yeah.
So they were banking on the regular season.
Right.
Now you have to bank on the unknown. Placement, matchups, style, depth, a whole bunch of different factors, a home and away. We should be perfect on home and away. All our games, if they not at home, they at neutral sites or, different environments. The psychological factor, I think, is heavier for Marcus Freeman than the other coaches. So the grading scale is a little different, but the expectation stays the same. Year 3, get close. I think he has some room to work with, just because how you gonna judge it? Nobody's ever did it. If he wins his first game, I think a lot of people be okay with that. They should. If he get 3 games in and lose, couldn't ask for better. Couldn't ask for much more. But if we don't get to the playoffs or bomb out in the first game or don't, whatever, that's when you can evaluate the quality of what you got. But this regular season, come on, they're like, look, the third year is set up for you to do well. Recruiting's at a nice point. Not quite the tipping point, but it's up there. You get into the climax. So it's going to be important, which I do think Marcus Freeman understands where he's at in his Notre Dame tenure. Probably why he's pushed the gas on getting all these transfers. When I still believe to this day, if we develop the guys we got, we'll be just as good, Maybe with one or two pieces added, we'll see how that impacts. But we got a good roster because the recruiting classes we got in. That's why I'm so hype on. We don't need to chase anybody. Yeah. Maybe need to chase a big 300-pounder for the first year until we get them other guys in. Maybe chase quarterback, which we did. But, hey, recruiting at the receiver position, I like what I'm seeing. Recruiting at the quarterback position, I love what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So, we got to sometimes what's in the tank better than outside the tank.
Let me ask you this question, and this is the LL question today. You can go to YouTube. The post is up. Go vote right now. What's the expectations for Marcus Freeman's third year at Notre Dame? The options are 11 to 12 wins, college football playoff semifinals, college football playoff national championship game, or a national championship. What's the expectations for Marcus Freeman's third year at Notre Dame?
I said 2 games because that's how much. Because we have to put that on Riley too. Riley, you got to get us 2 games to even make any of it worth it. The money worth it. We don't care about no regular season stats for real. Because the regular season is for you to get to New York. That's on you. The regular season is for Riley to get himself in that New York room at the end of the day. Does not pertain to the value of which it brings Notre Dame in this 1-year transfer because that's related to the playoffs. So I can separate the two. It's like separating R. Kelly from his music. The Chocolate Factory is still a great song. You can still play it at the cookouts. People still gonna dance. Now, when you start talking about the biography and all that, see, you can separate the two. So Riley Leonard having a successful regular season, that's great.
Somebody's art, I'm not offended or pulled away from someone's art because of who they are.
Yeah. I think the same thing.
Some people do that.
Some people
I don't do that.
But if a song good, hey, I'm a jam to it. I'm not crazy now. I'm not gonna force myself not to like it. So what Riley Leonard does in regular season, we already acknowledge that he's gonna have a pretty good regular season. We acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Because we got too much resources for him to fail. That's really what it is. It's like when you go to Notre Dame, they tell you it's harder to fail than to graduate. Because it's just too much available to you you got to be the laziest, most entitled, craziest person in the world to fail at Notre Dame. Because you got every resource, every TA, every office hour, every book you can look something up in. They give you extra student-athlete perspective. They give you extra tutors. They give you counselors, one-on-one meetings. They give you everything. So to fail out is really on you. And that's the same thing how I think about Riley Leonard this season. Him getting to New York is on him. Because those expectations are already in place. Like, that's already supposed to happen. Yeah. That's not what we're paying for. That's not, I'm not paying for that. We're paying for these playoff wins. Because that's a measurement stick, not only for the program, but for Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
Because now it weighs on Marcus Freeman's decision-making. Why are you bringing in 1-year guys and not winning the playoffs? What's the point? Why are we spending this money? That's what he got to answer to at the end of the season. Did we spend this money correctly? They don't care. They can care less about some of the other stuff. They're going to ask Marcus Freeman, was that $2 million that we had to give up for this quarterback worth it? Yeah, we got two playoff wins. $1 million a game. $1 million a game. Hell, if he give us more, we robbed the bank. We done stole us one. that's where I start figuring out if that's what the value is, because I still believe Steve Angeli, Kenny Minchie can get us to the playoffs. Because why are we recruiting quarterbacks that can't? That's the question. The base layer of a Notre Dame quarterback at this point is, can you have the ability and talent to get us to the playoffs? You can't be in the room if you don't have that ability, in my opinion. We bringing in a guy that can win 6 games. That's not we are as a program. We're way better than that as a program. So our measurement stick is, if you get recruited by Notre Dame, that means we believe you can get us to the playoffs. Now, where the money and the starter and all the fame and NIL comes in is, can you win playoff games and win championships? USC is going to have a huge difference in NIL now, because they're not paying for Malachi Nelson and giving them all this for 1 year to just leave. We're going to pay you if you're a playoff guy. That's how I know if I'm going to keep you, if you're a playoff guy. If you can't be a playoff guy, then you just another transfer guy, and I'm not paying that money.
It is, I think you're going to hear about it all the time. Off season, going into the season, during the season, you're going to hear about the 3rd year for a Notre Dame coach. You're going to hear about the championships for the guys I named, the other 4 coaches I named that won the championship in that 3rd year. And then Brian Kelly got to the national championship game against Alabama in his 3rd year. It's something Marcus Freeman is probably going to have to answer at some point in time. Like, what do you think about that? How do you feel going into your 3rd season? It is what it is. It is what it is. At this point, the pressure of winning a national championship in Notre Dame is every year. I don't care if it's first year, 2nd year, 3rd year. The pressure is there. The pressure is absolutely there. I agree with you, Left, though. I see the way they've gone into the portal, the lessons they've learned. They feel like, look, we feel like we figured out how to get this team to a talent standpoint to be able to make a difference. They've also improved the coaching staff, in my opinion, which is vitally important. And you're still trying to develop a culture. That culture has to come to a head right now. That culture has to come to a head right now. This is when you have to see a manifestation. So the least, I'll say it. I'll go ahead and say it right now. The least, in order for this season to feel successful, in order for me to feel like the Fighting Irish had a successful season, Notre Dame has to reach the college football semifinals in this expanded format. Flat out. If Notre Dame doesn't reach the college football playoff semifinals, I just don't see this season being successful. I just don't. I don't. I think it's right there for the taking. We've said it all along. Look, the expansion actually benefits Notre Dame because it takes immense pressure off of every regular season game that has existed for Notre Dame, especially during the playoff era. There was tremendous pressure every week for Notre Dame to win. They didn't have a conference championship game. They're trying to make it in on the back end. Now that pressure has been alleviated. So everything is being set up. 3rd year Marcus Freeman, 3rd recruiting class. Recruiting is improving. The talent pretty much in every positional room is improved from the end of the predecessor's time in Notre Dame. Everything seems like it's lined up. Elevated the OC, elevated the wide receiver coach, finally got a quarterback coach to be able to develop the elevated talent. Year 3. I don't think you need to win a national championship this year. but not getting to the semifinals of the college football playoffs with a 12-team playoff. Yeah, I need semifinals. That's it. Making the playoffs should be a given. Making the playoffs should be a given. A flat out given. I don't know what else to say. It should flat out be a given. The early voting, man, people are voting like crazy already. Yeah, Jason Smith, I agree with you. There really should be no excuse to not be in the playoffs this year. No excuse. Lucky Lefty podcast. We'll get to some more of your comments. But right now, we want to bring on, Big Bro, the program. I call him Big Bro, even though, from an age standpoint, I know I'm the Big Bro. But from Notre Dame standpoint, since he played, I always refer to him and other players that I talk to as Big Bros. Cam McDaniel back on the Lucky Lefty podcast. Cam, how you feeling, bro?
Good, brother. Thanks so much for being patient with me this morning. Yeah, always a pleasure to be back on with the Lucky Lefty group.
Yeah, Malik will be back. He has some little left. Came a calling, so I have to take care of him right quick. But right before we get into Riley Leonard, the injury, the surgery, year 3 historically has been what you might call a pressure season for Notre Dame coaches, right?
Yep.
Leahy era, Lou, Dan, Devon, they all won national championships in year 3, right? So all Notre Dame coaches hear about it, like whomever they are. This is year 3. This is what historically happens at Notre Dame in year 3. Brian Kelly got to the national championship game against Alabama in year 3. What is your floor as a former player? What is your floor for success in Marcus Freeman's 3rd year? Like for you to feel like, okay, yes, this year was a successful year. We're moving in the right direction and we're on the road to a national championship. Expanded playoff, 12 teams. What level do you feel like this team needs to reach for you to feel like this was a successful season?
Oh, man. Always with the loaded questions. What's up, Malik?
He came in on the right question, it sounds like, because this is important now, because it's about honesty.
Yeah. Yeah, man, for me, I think that there's so many like variables and factors that have changed since, comparing those year 3 type of year, even like Brian Kelly's year 3 was national championship year. And he's, I know down there at LSU saying the same thing about his year 3. So I think that there is a little bit of magic to that concept. While at the same time, I mean, things have just shifted and changed so much. Obviously, I mean, we're in a new era of coaches, and some of the greatest coaches of all time in the last, 20, 30 years have stepped off of the stage. And really the dynamic of college football has, or the multiple dynamics of college football have shifted drastically. To be straightforward for Malik, I'm going to say that, getting to the college football playoffs would definitely, I mean, I know for Notre Dame Nation, that's what we want to see. Want to see like being able to get into a 12-team playoff. I think that makes a lot of sense, even with the way the last few seasons have gone. We've been right there, and I think we have all the potential in the world, to be there. So that would be a success to me. And I think that we have every reason in the world to to expect that, not necessarily assume that, but to expect it. And yeah, I'm excited overall. There's a lot of changes again this season. The transfer portal, I guess, is always gonna, give us a lot of new surprises, and so we'll see. I mean, I will say this: like, I'm good friends with Coach Kazkazidi at TCU. I've shared this before, and I've spent some time with those guys in their in their in their weight room and just kind of hanging out with that staff. And one thing that I know, Kaz has talked to me about is how hard it is to effectively keep and develop culture year in and year out with how the transfer portal has been turning things over. And that's where I feel like the dynamics change so much with, coaches now, is how do you, as a coach, create such a vibrant culture that people, they want to stay when they can jump into a portal and go anywhere else. They want to stay when there's opportunity to perhaps make some more money somewhere else. I think we're going to see some shifts even from the athletes. I think it's really interesting to watch, Archie Manning or Arch Manning down at Texas, and kind of him staying put right now.
Man, did we lose Cam? Yeah, what he was saying right there, Left, is like we've been talking about culture all week. Yeah, you got you back, Cam. You got us?
Yeah. Sorry, that was my wife.
It's funny. It's funny you start going in that direction, because we literally did 2 shows this week on culture.
Yeah.
Culture, top 3 cultures, what it takes to build the culture, how important it is, all of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the I think the biggest factor to, winning and having a championship caliber team. Like it's got to be, because that's goes into the really the idea and the concept of collective consciousness. And like collective consciousness is synergy between, various individual players that have the ability to synergistically come together and come into a unified vision, goal, and taking those various perspectives, which is so difficult. That's the challenge today in culture, is we don't live in the same time where it's just like, oh, we're going to pick a word this year, and we're going to pick a phrase this year, and that's going to be our phrase, and we're going to roll with that. Like, guys don't, I feel like this generation doesn't, they're not really as magnetized to that as previous generations, because there's so many individuals out there that have an individual perspective and individual goals and things they want to achieve. And so the challenge is, how do you bring that together effectively to where you have a collective vision, but at the same time you're celebrating these individual desires that people have in their hearts, because you can't deny that. You can't deny that players want to be great. They want to play. Like they want to have the ability to do something, big and create a big impact, and they want to be seen. I mean, I saw a quote this morning that I thought was really profound, that basically said, what George Orwell didn't predict is that we would actually be buying cameras, and our greatest fear was that people wouldn't see us. And so it's kind of this paradox of this concept of Big Brother and people worrying about their privacy and being seen and stuff like that. It's like, no, Gary Vee and what he says seems to be dead on, to where people aren't concerned about privacy. They don't need privacy. They want attention. They want to know that they are seen. And I think that there's a way to go about that in a healthy manner. And it's something that takes intentionality, real intentionality. And
do you think there's a timeline on it though? Do you think there's a timeline to how long it takes to gain that chemistry, to gain that culture? Do you think it could be done when you're bringing a bunch of transfers in from all over the place for 1 year? I think that's the different
Yeah.
question we gotta ask, because everywhere else you're getting at least 2 years, if not more.
I mean, I think it's been done before. Like, historically speaking, you know, we look at concepts like Miracle on Ice, and the U.S., you know, the U.S. Olympic hockey team with a bunch of college kids that came together and beat a like well-established, you know, Russian national team. I think it's been done with, I mean, wasn't it actually Jim Harbaugh? Didn't he come in and win his first year or second year or something? Like go to the Super Bowl? He didn't win the Super Bowl, but like
13-3 with the 49ers his first year at Michigan, I believe. They were inches away from beating Ohio State on the road. So you can have success, you know, off the bat.
I think the playoff picture changes everything, because it's not about luck anymore. Anybody can win one time. Now it's like, okay, you got to be a team. You got to last a gauntlet. You got to survive, you know, the different terrains and back-to-back weeks. Guys that's not in your conference, guys you ain't seen before. I think it's too hard now to just say,
like
okay.
The NFL playoff.
Well, NFL playoffs a little different too now, because they have superstar players. Totally. So superstar players are just gonna last to the end, like basketball. Like Giannis is gonna get deep in the playoffs, and I don't care if the Pelicans are hot or whoever, or the Heat, he's gonna get at least 2 or 3 rounds deep just because it's Giannis. Notre Dame is gonna get 2 or 3 rounds deep just because it's Notre Dame. That's how we have to be, but it's hard. You got to factor in injuries. You got to factor in guys wanting to protect their brands or whatever the case is. You got guys who we don't know about.
Yeah.
We know Riley Leonard can't even make it to spring practice, and he ain't even got hit yet. So can he make it 16 weeks? Get a fan nervous when you talk about stuff like that.
Let me ask you guys a question. Let me ask you guys something before we transition over to the Riley Leonard injury. You guys both, and you tell me if I'm wrong, because I think Malik has talked about this and how the culture totally changed from 2015 to 2016. Talent was there. But Cam, you pointed out how difficult it is year to year. Both you guys probably participated with the 2014 team and the 2016 team. 2 of the most talented teams that just didn't get it done at Notre Dame. Like, we could talk about injuries, other factors, maybe even chemistry. But what is that experience like? Like, knowing the talent is there, but for whatever reason, injuries and other factors, how frustrating is that? Knowing, like, at the beginning of the year, like, oh, dude, we have the talent. I mean, that 2014, you guys walked into Doak Campbell, was smacking Florida State around for 2.5 quarters, and it's like, yo, undefeated.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then all of a sudden, you know, you get cheated out of that win, injuries happen, and the next thing you know, the season just falls apart. Like, how frustrating is it to be a part of something like that when you know you have what it is and it's exterior impact that takes things off the rail?
Yeah, that's incredibly frustrating as a player. Especially, you know, for me, I was a captain that year, and just to feel the synergy that we had and to feel the momentum that we had and watching it get derailed. I know a lot more about momentum now than I did then, and the art of momentum and really the energetics behind momentum. It was a great learning lesson for me, even on momentum. And I think that if you, like, going back to some of the things that Malik said, you have to know how to use that to your advantage. So teams and coaches and people that understand the energetics and the quantum physics behind, like, I mean, there is a quantum physics component behind this. There is a energetic component that is very, I mean, just look at the Kansas City Chiefs, man. Like look what they are able to, like, do every year when it comes to, like, when it's really important, like, they show up in full force, and they're like, yeah, we've been here before and we know what this is like. And it
What,
was the same
wasn't
thing
that
with
the difference Sunday? Did you feel
Yeah.
like Baltimore was like just frantic and Kansas City was just like, this is who we are?
Totally. And it was, and we can sit back and kind of analyze the Baltimore Ravens. That team is ridiculous, man. Like, there's no reason that those guys shouldn't have been Super Bowl champions. Like even Odell Beckham saying this is the most talented team I've ever been on, who has been on a Super Bowl team. Like, it's crazy to think about like what was possible there. But at the end of the day, it goes back to that synergy, momentum, collective consciousness, confidence. And you can just tell that the Kansas City Chiefs, they just had that swagger from the beginning of the game, like, to the end.
Cam's 100% right, because 2015, it was a field. It's one of those things where everybody knew everybody's capabilities and strengths. Where once we all knew each other and was comfortable with each other, it was like, okay, I know what we're really good at as a team, and I know what would be really hard for a team to beat us with. That was before we played any game, and that was in camp. And it's so funny because, it was moments in camp where I was like, yeah, we're going to be really nice. Like when Sheldon Day picks up Mike McGlinchey, a first-round tackle, and tosses him in practice with one arm. You're like, oh, we might be really good. I don't think anybody else is going to toss Mike McGlinchey with one arm this whole season until we get to Alabama.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing guys on the draft list. Well, we got 4 players that are top 5 in their position for draft class. Will Fuller, Jalen Smith. Hell, I got a nomination I ain't even play yet. You got the old line. Defense is going. So you're like, okay, I'm feeling good about walking around, talking my stuff about the team. Coaches on the same team, on the same page, because the team knows who should play. That's the other thing, and that's what's not being said. The team knows who should start.
Yeah.
And anytime you're on a team where you just know guys are starting that shouldn't be, you just know you're not getting the full potential out of your team. 2015, there was nobody starting that I didn't think should have been starting, and the team didn't think either. 2016, just the year after, it was division because the coaches felt a certain way and the team saw something different. So you're just going to lose.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
Man.
Louisville, I swear to God, Louisville had the same feeling I probably felt like we felt in 2015. Everybody in their position was supposed to start and was supposed to be there. Now it's just about coming together. So 2015, I don't know, I wasn't there 2012, but I was there in the back end. I can kind of tell.
Yeah.
But 2015, it was like, man, everybody is playing how they should and where they should be. So the coaches ain't involved. This is on us, and we all believe in each other, and we just know. It's just like one of the things we just know. It's gonna be hard for a team to beat us.
Yeah. Yep. What's interesting, I've said this before, Malik, but I really believe that the 2011 team, my freshman year, was more talented than the 2012 team that went to the national championship.
Really?
I think the difference was synergy. Like, the difference was there wasn't a lot of that drama. It really just felt like guys were willing to contribute however they could, and they were just grateful for those opportunities. And that's so hard in college football, man. Like, it was hard for me. Like, I was 4th string running back, like behind Sierra Wood, Theo Riddick, and George Atkinson. And I remember like winning all these games and starting to feel like, man, I just got to get behind this. Like, I
Hold up, Cam. We lost your
I think his mic went out.
Yeah, his mic went out.
But he's absolutely right, though. I mean, it's just, man, listen, it's one of those things where it's a feel. Like, when you get on the podcast and a certain topic, it's just like, oh, I just go all day on this topic.
Yeah.
And that was the difference, because when we played against teams, even that we felt may have been as competitive, like the Clemson game. We just knew that it would have to go to the last drive, or had to, like, no team was just gonna come out and roll over us. So if that was the case, oh man, it's gonna be a long year for teams, because now you have to consider the fact that it's not an intimidation factor. You just got
Right.
to be better. And then we had guys that were just better. I believe was better. Shit, we had Will Fuller, Jalen Smith, some running backs, O line that was one of the best, and then you had just a variety of defensive players that you're like, you're better than the average player. I don't know if you're the number one player, but you're better than some guy from UNLV or whatever. When you get a guy like Romeo, that's a great foundational piece. A Romeo Aquara may not be the best player. It's like the San Francisco 49ers. Cam Newton was 1,000% right. You're not a game changer unless you the top three on your team. Brock Purdy realistically is like the 12th best player and the 6th, 7th best on the offensive side.
Mm-hmm.
Your starting lineup from Trent Williams to George Kittle, Debo, and Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, they're just better players than you, Brock. So you just cannot be a game changer because you got all of that. Those 5 players right there. Trent Williams the best in the league. So you ain't better than him, and you ain't better than Debo. You ain't better than Christian McCaffrey. You ain't better than Brandon Ayuk. That's just what it is. Not taken away from you, but there's no way you can be a game changer 10th on the best of your team.
Man, I just find it that both you guys had that experience. You know, when you brought up chemistry, I'm like, yo, those were 2 seasons where, for me, and for you to say 2011 from a talent standpoint was better than 2012, I don't even think Notre Dame fans, you know, looking back would even say, you know what, let me kind of go back and reconcile that and, you know, really dig into that. And I was looking at the roster while you were talking, and I'm like, yeah.
I mean, look at that offensive line. Look at Harrison Smith, Michael.
Man.
I mean, it was insane. It, like, practices were insane. Like, I feel like the competitiveness and practice was crazy. And really, I think the quarterback thing threw us off from the beginning. You know,
100%. I tell people all the time, the quarterback throws you off because it's like, okay, yeah, we got all these great pieces, but they can't get activated.
Yeah. I mean,
because the head of it isn't conducive or has enough rhythm to get everybody on board. So now it feels like practice when you sub it in and out, you get no momentum, no rhythm. Guys got their preferences already. Because, you know, it affects the team. Because some guys be like, damn, I know if XYZ get in, it's going to be tough to get the football. I'm going to take this play off, XYZ, whatever. Or you get a guy in where you're like, oh, I'm about to get the ball out. Let me run a little harder. And it's just too much of a ebbs and flows. With Stetson Bennett, for example, it's like the team know what they get. You can bank on that dude when the chips are down because it's like, we got him in here. It's going to be all right.
I'll give them a ton of credit because I feel like their confidence is what allows them to come in and be the playmakers and the kind of, I mean, they're literally like the conductor of a beautiful orchestra, and they realize, like, wow, I've got all of these pieces and all of these people that have the ability to help contribute to my capacity here, and I'm just going to use that to my advantage. I'm going to trust my guy. It's almost like Malik, you know, like when an offensive coordinator like tries to trust their ability to call plays to win games versus trusting the players to, like,
and you can see it on the field. You're like, oh, I feel like you have probably talked about this play all week. The way you're calling it, the way you're running it, it's like this is a coach-driven play. Instead of being like, man, Cam McDaniel is hot right now. We don't got to be complicated. Let's run it through the 3-hole and see if they can stop him. It's an ego thing, in my opinion. 2016 for us was ego. When we went to Florida, the year before I went to Florida, they went to the SEC championship game. They brought back the same team the next year. We was 4-8. The same team. Everything was the same. The team was younger even, but the difference was chemistry, especially at the quarterback position. It changes everything, you know.
Cam, I'm looking at this roster. This 2011 roster had 24 NFL players on it, ladies and gentlemen. 24 players from the 2011 roster went to the NFL.
Honest Gray, Searwood in the backfield. Then me and Jordan, and like coming in, we were both getting. I was actually number 3 back, like at that time. You had TJ,
Tavares Daniels, Eifert, all the linemen.
A quarterback drama fest, like behind the scenes, and I know there was some coaching like clashing between the OC and the head coach at that time.
It still continued. It still continued.
It did. It had a I was there. It definitely shows that was always a side of contention. But our defense was crazy. And I mean, we had talent everywhere. It was just like developing the synergistic components that we needed to like put all that together. Because if we could have we were a scary football team any given Saturday.
Yeah. Lucky Lefty podcast. Let's hop into it. Riley Leonard. It's ironic that he injures his ankle at the end of the Notre Dame game. Comes back, re-injures it against Florida State. Then he's out for the rest of the year. Has a procedure. They go back in this winter. Clean up procedure, 4 to 6 weeks, according to reports. I guess there were reports from people connected to or sources connected to the program that say he might miss winter workouts and spring ball. There are other reports.
Terrible. They might as well start Steven Jones.
There are other reports saying, look, he'll be fine. He'll be on the back end of winter workouts and he'll be ready in full go for the spring. I don't think he'll be, regardless, he's not going to be full go in the spring. They're going to make sure that they take care of him properly to get him to fall camp. So whatever percentage that is, 70% of the normal playing time during the spring for a quarterback or whatever. Talk about the injury, explain the recovery time, and explain whether or not it might actually linger and impact him going into the fall. The floor is yours, Cam. And the impact of Lauren Landau and what he's bringing in as far as recovery that's different than what was previously there.
Man, there's just a lot of ifs with all of this stuff. Because I don't even know, was it confirmed that he had surgery after the season? Is that confirmed? Did we get that?
This is from reports. This is the second procedure.
Okay. I saw Rob Hunt, tweet out something basically that the second procedure thing was not legitimate, whatever. Which I have no clue. I don't have any clue. He might have had. I mean, I know that he really injured his ankle against us. Like for real, we saw it on TV.
Right.
We know that happened. We know that seemed to hinder him throughout the rest of the season. Did he even get to play the rest of the season? Was he playing after that?
He came back against Florida State. And that's when he re-aggravated it and they shut it down.
Got it. Yeah, man. Ankles are tough. Malik can speak the lower leg injury and ankles and how difficult it is to come back and to regain the confidence in that ankle to support you in the massive amounts of force production and force absorption needed to be able to do what you've been able to do, because it's there. I mean, it's your first line in the chain of force absorption and force production. Um, so I think that there are a lot of can be like collapse timelines for that stuff. And I don't know how his recovery is going to be handled overall. Again, we talked about Lauren Landau a little bit, and I've made it clear to everybody that I don't know until I see the season and what he's been able to put together. Lauren Landau was a big velocity sports performance guy. For you that know anything about that chain, it's what I used when I was a high school player, and they had some really cutting edge stuff back in the early 2000s for speed training and just overall like biomechanics and human performance stuff. And that's really like a lot of the stuff that I see. Like Lauren Landau was a big part of that apparently, and I see a lot of the stuff that I've seen online that he's doing seems to be in alignment with that, which there's some good stuff in there, but at the same time, like I feel like there's progressions, and I don't know how he's progressed based off of the things that I've seen. If I was because I've done lower leg injuries with athletes, and we've got them back and a pretty collapsed timeline in a pretty successful like manner, and like the big thing for me working on the mental like throughout the whole physical component, which I will say that like there's a lot of people like for me personally, Rob Hunt was great with that. Like he did a great job on the mental side while I was recovering. Some people may not agree with that.
Definitely on the mental side.
Yeah. But I loved the way that, Rob just kind of came in with a very calm and like, hey, I'll never forget, like, being in training camp and tweaking my ankle. And I just felt like that was the end of the world back when I was a freshman. Cause I'm like trying to compete to play and stuff like that. And I remember, coming in the next morning after the injury, and you could tell I was just not he could tell I was not in a good place. And he just looked at me and he just said, hey, look at me. And he was like, just breathe. Just breathe. Listen, you've got a long career here. Like you've got to like, I know this like feels like a lot, but like just relax. It's going to be all right. And like that sort of demeanor is huge for injuries like this. And just that side of things, I think I think just that side of things can help get an athlete into a place of parasympathetic and relaxation, which no matter what you do after that, whatever therapies you're using or whatever, you're going to accentuate healing just from being in parasympathetic and believing that like, hey, like these guys are going to take care of me, all of that. That is such a huge factor to all of this. I can't like overemphasize how big nervous system regulation is for actual recovery. And then there's the dynamics of what sort of cutting edge innovative stuff are you doing to collapse the healing timeline after that? And that's where I just don't know. I don't know like what's being used. I don't know what's being done. I can say that like I've had the opportunity to be with programs and organizations, from NCAA with Notre Dame, NFL, and being like on a few rosters for a little bit, like whether it's the Dallas Cowboys, Cincinnati Bengals. Like I've seen these training rooms and I've seen how these therapies usually go. And I think what I was really blown away by was when I exited the stage of just the athletic training room, some of the applications that I found that weren't in the training room that I'm like, why the heck is this not being used? Like more, like, why is this not more like common within the athletic training room community? And I still haven't really found that question, to be honest with you. I still work with high school athletes all the time, and this is high school, so it's different. But at the same, like we're in 2024, so I think that's, I mean, something to be said about the progression of like consciousness in this whole athletic training room kind of ecosystem. I still have trainers, even at the collegiate level, even at a TCU, and even at some of these other top tier programs, like icing and STEM is still like one of the things that these guys go back to, and that's just so outdated, man. It's, if you're doing ice and STEM like in your athletic training room, like if that's a protocol that you're using these days, like you're a dinosaur. You just are. And I know that might upset some people and like hurt their feelings, but like I will go toe to toe with anybody on the like very objective conversation about why that is such an outdated form of electrotherapy. Like electrotherapy is my space. Like that's where like I've dedicated the last like 7 years of my life, is really understanding that world and understanding it even longer than like 7 years. And I know that that's maybe not a long time to some of these tenured athletic trainers out there and therapists, but what I've been able to see and the results that we've been able to produce, and not just that, other therapists that are more tenured than me, applications and seeing their results, is just, I mean, it's night and day difference. I mean, we're talking about the difference between somebody getting back from a hamstring injury in 6 to 8 weeks versus a week or like, I mean, that's a tremendous collapse of the timeline. We're talking about like for this, a lower leg injury, the one thing that I'll say about, what I've heard with the Riley Leonard scenario about, getting the tightrope surgery and then it's going to be 6 to 8 weeks of recovery before he comes back. Well, if you're going to an orthopedic and you're getting surgery, the doctor's going to recommend that you stay in a boot for 6 weeks. So 6 to 8 weeks is not realistic. Like that's 6 weeks in a boot, because once you're in a boot for 6 weeks, muscle atrophy, neurological information doesn't travel to an area where it's not being used, and a boot keeps you from using that. And it's not a realistic thing. Like it you have to, really engage the threshold of pain, and you have to be able to get right up to like where you're starting to feel like that sensation of it. You have to be able to work into that. You got to be able to work into that a little bit more every day, and you increase that capacity every day. And the boot doesn't allow you to do that. Whereas it's just a protection mechanism, which it can't in some scenarios like this. Like I tell my athletes, get out of the boot as soon as you can. Go get on the grass. Like you guys heard me talk about grounding, and like I can go on and on and on about that. But like there's so many ways that you can start to work into that progression right. I feel like that's really where you get the type of recovery that's going to allow you to come back and have the confidence that you need to like be the type of player that everybody's expecting Riley Leonard to be, because there's a lot of expectation on that guy.
Yeah, $2 million worth.
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Exactly.
Lucky Lefty podcast. So in your opinion, Malik made the point. Malik was like, yo, health is going to take care of itself. His body healing himself, the work he puts in with the staff. He said, I'm worried about condensing the time for him as the quarterback, going back to what you guys said, which is important with chemistry. He's the guy. If he's the guy, he's losing time with the other guys, building chemistry. If he's not participating in workouts, if he can't be full go in spring, how impactful is that? Is that something just to poo-poo because he's a talented player? Or is that something to really look at, especially with guys like Steve Angeli, Kenny Mitchell, and CJ Carr? Like, okay, this could be my opportunity to go ahead and show the coaches that I can run this team.
Yeah. Man, a lot of again, a lot of variables there. I mean, I don't know how, like, I'll give a great example. MALIK was a team guy from the stepped on campus. He wasn't playing, but he was a team guy, and everybody like knew who MALIK was because he had an about him that was like, I'm present here. I'm here. Like, you're gonna feel me whether I'm a starter or I'm not a starter or whatever. And I always like when I described MALIK, I would always say, man, that guy's a gamer. Like, even before he ever like was in a game time situation, I saw him show up to workouts. I saw him in the locker room. I saw him in practice, and like what he was like, the energy that he brought to the table. I was running with MALIK a lot with, you know, the 2 and 3.
Yeah, he was getting it a lot, Cam.
So we were like, there was that energetic that MALIK had that every time he went in, he was like, I'm the captain of this ship right now. And that is huge. And so for somebody like a Steve Angeli, like, that's something that like he's got to maintain that. And he's got to continue to like be the guy that shows up energetically every day, even though, you know, your team just brought in a quarterback for $2 million and it looks like, oh shoot, like these are the times where guys like him like have to be able to continue to maintain those energetics. And then a guy like Riley, who is coming into a new culture and trying to like familiarize himself with the team. It's him showing up and being present in the way that he knows how. And not everybody is like a MALIK where they're, you know, super outgoing and have that energy to like, to be present in the way that MALIK was. But there's other ways that he can do that. And I don't know him personally, so I don't know what that looks like for him, but it's about giving the other guys the impression like, hey, I'm here for this. Like, I showed up for this and I showed up to be a part of this, and I'm integrating myself into this in whatever way I possibly can, off the field, on the field, in the training room, you know, at training table, like just the little things, man, that like, not even the little things, just anytime you're able to be around the community and like the culture that you're building on and off the field is key during these times. And I don't necessarily think like he's got to be back for spring ball for him to like come in and have a successful, you know, season next year. But there's got to be a element of his presence that's known if he wants to expect to come in and really, you know, take this team to the place that everybody's expecting them to get to.
Lucky Lefty podcast, Cam McDaniel on with us. The fans wanted me to ask you, because it was big news, stepping away from Notre Dame football. But this week, after the big win against Connecticut on the road, Notre Dame's women's basketball coach, Niele Ivey, was asked about Olivia Miles, who reportedly on the broadcaster said Olivia Miles told Fox that she's not playing this season. Torn ACL just pretty much a year ago. Torn ACL. I know how you feel about it, right? If she's not going to play this season, should Notre Dame fans be concerned? Because it's like it's been a full year, and like you said, with the advancement in medicine, technology, and recovery, do you feel like fans were waiting to get her back and to pair her with Hannah Hidalgo? Oh man, we got Hannah Hidalgo and Olivia Miles coming for the stretch run. And then it's a big letdown to hear, man, she won't be back until next season with 2 years of eligibility. From where you sit, how does that make you feel hearing that about her recovery?
Yeah, again, just a lot of variables with I don't know. Like, I don't know how much she's working with Rob and Mike in the training room. Obviously, she coached Lauren Landau, like, so that's a big factor. Like, but you know, that's sad to hear. I mean, it's sad to hear when an athlete goes through something like that and is trusting in the process Um, and again, there's the individual component of taking ownership for, what are you doing, like when you have the ability to, and then there's the process, there's the component of submitting to kind of the authority figures for therapy and recovery when, you as a college student at that point don't really know the best path to go. So you're trusting in the experts. And I can tell you that it's super frustrating when you're trusting in the experts as an athlete and you're doing everything that you can, and it's still not working. I've been there as an athlete, and that's why I'm a little bit of sometimes of a rebel when it comes to this stuff. Like, and I always I always had people, and it's different now than it was even back then, but I always had people that I was working with outside of the program that when I like felt like I was getting results with a type of protocol or something that I wasn't getting where I was at, I'd go find it. And when you're a professional athlete, you do that. That's why a lot of these athletes, they're not like staying in their athletic training room, in the off season to get their recovery. Some of them do. But a lot of them are like going to Germany to go get like certain types of stem cells. A lot of them are going to, Southern California and spending time in like that environment.
Oh yeah, it's very serious when it comes to finding the right treatment, especially outside of your athletic training. Like I went to Chicago, California, Arizona, Florida. We're talking about to treat an ankle. You done went to 4 different states, racked up some frequent flyer miles because it becomes a specialist thing that you need attention for. Because sometimes athletic training doesn't get you far enough.
Yeah.
Hell, most times it doesn't get you far enough to to be playing back at what you would consider normal. So that happens. I mean, 9 times out of 10, I would say most guys have a second doctor or a personal doctor outside of the ones at school.
And I think that that's like, that shouldn't be something that athletic trainers need to like feel upset by, like when I say these things, because man, athletic trainers are phenomenal for what they do on the day-to-day grind of like with the athlete, taping the ankles, like making sure that there's like all of the materials, the hydration materials, the nutrition materials, like Mike being able to snap a finger back in place when you need to, like on the sideline. Like, I mean, all that stuff is very important. Like, you need guys for that. You need like your front line. It's almost like my brother-in-law was a paramedic, and he is incredible when it comes to like what he does as a paramedic, but he's not a kinesiologist. Like, he doesn't understand the human body and anatomy
Yeah.
like I would. Whereas if there's a car accident and somebody, is in a traumatic experience on the side of the road, I'm not going to be like, you don't want Cam McDaniel necessarily to show up and be the guy that's like taking care of you if you've got stuff really going on, like life or death scenario. That's like my brother-in-law. Now, if you need to like, if you want the recovery process back after that, come to me. That's not my brother-in-law. And so it's just kind of like understanding that roles are becoming more niche these days. I mean, just like sports specific has become more and more of a factor. The same thing in athletic performance recovery, especially on the recovery side. There's so many different routes and have effective paths for athletes to collapse their healing. What the traditional kind of concept of the athletic training room can provide, and that's okay. Like, and I like we should begin to accept that, like as things are changing so drastically in the college football landscape and college sports landscape, is hey, these are now really professional athletes. Give them the ability to, like, you're not just their only experts that they have access to anymore. Like, they have Instagram and they can see like when a guy like Rodgers is collapsing his healing timeline like he did. Like, they have the ability to see, what Saquon Barkley did to like recover from his ACL injury and what Adrian Peterson did back in 2000. Like, they have the ability to go check this stuff out themselves. And if I'm an athlete now, I'm not just trusting like my first opinion from people, especially when it doesn't match like it doesn't match the information that I know is accessible to other athletes out there, and how they've been able to navigate their recoveries. Like I'm gonna go look for stuff. And now in today's realm, I think that it's important that athletes have the wherewithal to be able to see, like, hey, like I do have the ability to gather the information needed to where I can give feedback to my athletic trainer and we can have real conversations and we can talk about this stuff. And I can say, hey, I want to visit this, or I want to do this, or I want to try this application. Like all that stuff is very, I think is starting to happen, more and more, but it's just embracing that. And it's not getting, super territorial about these things. And that's the hardest thing, I think, for people that are labeled as experts, like whether it's a doctor, an athletic trainer, a physical therapist, or whatever. There's so many different variables now, I keep saying that word, to a successful path to recovery. And you being an expert, like according to the institution, doesn't necessarily make you my best option for this specific recovery process, or doesn't mean that I'm not going to go talk to, like, I've been talking to this guy, Dr. Jim Laval, who creates these products, and this is BPC 157, which this is an innovative product for peptide therapy. That's a chewable tablet. And like this helps increase neurological capacity where it's been lost. And there's research on like what this has done to affecting the hippocampus and restoring that proprioception that is lost from an ankle injury, that's lost from an injury, that's lost from an elbow or wrist injury. And like
It's this. I would say it's the same, Sean, as guys that when you and your cousins cook brisket. Yeah, they think they got the skills. Yeah, they just think it's meat, sauce, couple temperatures, put a little marination. Oh, I could compete with you, Sean. I could compete with you, And you like, nah, see, you got the brisket. You know what to do. You gonna lay it out 2 days before. You gonna tenderize it a little bit more. You're gonna put the special gloves on before you start turning on the heat. It's different things, that information you know about that brisket that they don't. Even though y'all can both cook it now, it's levels to it.
Yeah, see,
So
Cam.
yeah, you can go. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'll just say to let Cam know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Malik, my nephews. See, we passed grill mastering along. My dad passed it along to me. I became the grill master for the family. And I did it for a long time. And now my nephews that are in their early 20s, we passed it along to them. And their chests got big. And they challenged me. And I said, okay, this isn't going to end good. Just because you guys can do a few steaks and some hot dogs and some chicken wings does not mean you've arrived. So they did a challenge. So they pulled out the, chicken wings, hot dogs, the basic stuff, hot links. And I came with a straight brisket. And they were like, yo, what's brisket? What's this? I'm like, yeah, because see, we taught you everything you know.
Yeah.
But I didn't teach you everything that I know. You're not at that level yet.
Yeah.
So I had to put you in your place. And that's what he's referring to. But I agree. It's like, yeah, look, everything you just pointed out, Cam, I hope at some point, not to say that they need to, not saying Lauren Landau doesn't know the same information, but I hope that, and you've said this before, you hope that Notre Dame is willing to invest, not just money, but information, invest in information to put the players and all the athletes at Notre Dame in the best position to be everything they can be on and off the field. That's what we hope. I want to say this, breaking news, Notre Dame fans, exhale. You can exhale. Chad Bowden has decided to stay at Notre Dame, and he has rebuffed the offer from Michigan. Everybody can exhale right now. It's over. The wait is over. Chad Bowden I think, my rant yesterday to Notre Dame might have had something to do with it. I'll go ahead and take some credit. Because I got on Notre Dame and said, if you truly want to win, there's no way you let this dude walk out the door and go to the school up north.
Yeah.
So, I'm joking, but no. Everybody can be happy today. Great news. Chad Bowden is all fighting Irish. I know you got to go, Cam, but I have to play this for you and Malik. I have to. This is from 670 The Score in Chicago. Courtesy to them. Good guy, Lawrence Holmes. I want to make sure. Whoa, did I played it yesterday.
It's all good.
Just give me a few seconds, man, because I promise you I'm going to find this.
While you're finding that, the one thing that I was going to say on those cooking analogies, which I thought was beautiful, is like if there is somebody that doesn't know how to like cook brisket, like for real,
right?
Bring them in. Like if there's somebody that doesn't know how to make real smash burgers, bring them in. Like if there's not somebody that doesn't know how to make authentic like Baja Mexican food, like bring them in. You can follow like their template as well, but you gotta like invest in like really looking at that material. But it's a difference when it comes to the experience doing that and having the accessibility to people like that when you need it. I think, and just having the humility to know, hey, like I'm a chef that has the ability to that has diversity, and like I can make all of these different things, and I can do I do pretty well with that. But man, if I want a 5-star meal, like that's not necessarily me, because I'm a guy that's trained to do like multiple things well, not necessarily one thing excellent, or like be in this area over here, and I'm just a master at that. And I'm like that's kind of me, and my field of expertise is I feel like I generally understand like a lot of like healing and performance recovery protocols, but when it comes to using certain applications, I know that they work really well, like hyperbaric chambers. Like hyperbaric chambers work very well. I don't use them. Like I don't have one. I'm not like putting people in, and I don't know how to time that out exactly. And I think that there's ways that experts understand that stuff time that out very well. Like some people do IV therapy, and then they put people directly into a hyperbaric oxygen chamber to like push all of those nutrients like down into people's systems. And so there's really innovative stuff like that and cool stuff that you can find from people that really invest their time, energy, and effort into those certain applications. And that's what I was trying to bring full circle with your barbecue analogy, Malik.
No, it was perfect. Lev has the best food analogies in the game. Like no one can talk food and football and bring them all together like Malik Zaire. Like it's impeccable the way he's able to do it on a consistent basis. I'm just waiting for this to upload, and I'll bring it up to you guys in a few seconds. This is about, just to give you guys a precursor, this is about experts evaluating the quarterback, not guys that just say they do it on social media, but we're talking about the Godfather himself, Mel Kiper, and all of the other made guys in the business, and how bad they are at evaluating the quarterback position. It's going to amaze you if you look at their evaluations over the years and how things have turned out. You literally could sit here and say, for you to be an expert, yeah, you're not good at it, right? It's almost like being a Vegas guy that's telling you every week, bet this, bet that, and he has like a 50% win rate. Like, dude, I can do 50%. I can toss up a coin and decide week to week. like you have to be at least 80, 90% for me to feel like, okay. So here is Lawrence Holmes, 670 score, talking about this. Of course, I'm playing it for you guys because it has a connection to both of you. It's definitely a Notre Dame twist up in here. Check it out.
I really enjoy talking to draft analysts, and those who can't see me on Twitch, I am using air quotes. I think that they have a lot of value because there's stuff that they're watching that maybe we aren't watching. They're more than likely watching more college football than we are, and they're talking to people, like a lot of people like Kuiper who have grown their business do get an opportunity to talk to NFL front offices. Caveat emptor is all I would say when it comes to that. Look, we're going to have a bunch of them on. We had Daniel Jeremiah on last week. I really like him. I like Bucky Brooks. I like a lot of the people that do this. It's become its own industry, its own cottage industry inside of NFL. And these are the things that I want folks to be careful about when they are hitching their wagon to any quarterback. That you heard that this quarterback is the top quarterback in this class. This quarterback is generational. This quarterback is like Patrick Mahomes. I want you to take a listen to like this recap. And I'm going to use 2017 as the lesson here. So take this into account. This is actually from the Cleveland Browns website. Before the draft, they took a look at what the consensus was for people who are in the draft business. And a lot of the names you will recognize, like Benjamin Albright and Bucky Brooks and Dane Brugler and Todd McShay and Mel Kiper and Mike Mayock. These are all, to different degrees, trusted draft voices. Can we all agree on that?
These are made guys.
Made guys. There are plenty of other people that are doing stuff as well, but these are the guys that people will hold up and say, well, such and such said that this quarterback is a generational talent. And I'm going to run with that. And that's going to be my only defense when people push back on Caleb Williams. Generational talent, la, 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 la. Okay. This is how the average of what those guys said in 2017 about the quarterbacks. These are the top 4 quarterbacks according to those guys in 2017 with their rankings. Would you like to guess who number 1 is?
Number 1.
Who the consensus best quarterback in the 2017 draft, according to the names that I just read, who are they? Who is it?
Mitchell Trubisky.
Okay. Ray, would you like to guess?
In all honesty, to be transparent, I was reading an email, so I will not participate.
Who do you think the draft analyst thought was the number 1 quarterback in 2017?
In 2017?
The Mitchell draft.
Okay. I know it definitely was not Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, but who do you think they said was number 1? Studs?
Trubisky.
Oh, man.
Because remember, there's Deshaun Watson in that draft too. There's
I know
Patrick Mahomes.
It couldn't be Deshaun Watson.
Can be. I mean,
it could be.
It could be, but I'm guessing due to the nature of this exercise, it's not.
It's not. It's not any of the quarterbacks that were named.
Oh, who else was in that draft?
Right.
what?
Yeah. You know who the number 1 consensus quarterback of Mike Mayock, Mel Kiper Jr., Todd McShay, Daniel Jeremiah, Dane Brugler, Bucky Brooks, and Benjamin Albright were?
Who?
Deshaun Kaiser.
Oy.
The individual ranks for those by these guys. Mayock had him first. Kiper had him third. McShay had him third. Jeremiah had him first. Brugler had him second. Bucky Brooks had him first. Benjamin Albright had him first. This was the conclusion. Biggest questions facing Kaiser. Kaiser leads the way with 4 first-place rankings among the experts. Yet he is not even projected to be drafted in the first round of multiple popular mock drafts. Many scouts believe Kizer has the highest ceiling of any quarterback in the draft, and that his 2015 tape is the best of this class.
That's it. That's all I need to play. Dude, I don't want to hear from any expert on the quarterback position. I went from 17, looked at 18, 19, 20, and I'll just come to the conclusion, guys, I'll figure out the quarterback evaluation on my own. I got a better chance doing it on my own than listening to the made guys in the business. They could have asked Notre Dame fans who watched the 2016 season about Deshaun Cox. You didn't have to go ask those guys. Ask us how he looked in that 4-8 season. Ask us. They said he had the best tape of anybody from the 2015 season. Are you kidding me?
It just shows you we had the best team in 2015 out of all these teams, 100%. And they should have just asked me. They shouldn't even have asked Bucky, Brooks, and Dare, Jay, all those guys. Shouldn't even ask them, because I could have told you what happened. And I kept telling people, when the expectations change, everything makes a difference. Deshaun is the perfect pseudo in terms of having all the things necessary. I keep telling you every time, you got to be decent. You don't even have to be good. You just be decent at Notre Dame. At the quarterback position. Have some decent measurables. You're going to look like the number one guy every time. It's like rigging the system. Why you think I went there? Because you can rig the system. You don't have to be great to be a Notre Dame quarterback to get drafted. You just have to be halfway decent. And Deshaun had all the measurables, but Deshaun didn't have the intangibles. Deshaun don't even talk about football now. I could have told them that then. But the difference is that you got to stay up to date. And I doubt that any of those dudes watch anything up to date. That's why they referred to 2015. Like you said, Sean, if you watched anything from when you had expectations in that season, you would be like, okay, I can't put him there, even though I want to. He's got the size, he can throw it deep, all football games. It's not.
They
A
said
great
the
indication.
man had the highest upside in the same draft class with Patrick Mahomes. And
Yeah,
Deshaun
he
Watson.
did. I mean, look at it. He's 6'4", 6'5", 225, can throw it 60 plus yards. Yeah, that doesn't at all ever equate to winning football games, ever. But you know the NFL is about freak talent. That's what it's about, freak talent. If you 6'4", 260, run a 4.3, you're going to get drafted, regardless if you're a good football player or not. But they're just taking on the side of being a freak. And Deshaun was at the right time, right place, with the right resources. At the end of the day, the intangibles is what make the difference in the league, because everybody is that big and strong and fast. Decision making has to be evaluated. That's something that you can't just get on TV and quantify and be like, oh, well, he's got all the potential. Potential means nothing when it comes to get drafted.
So I'm going to get Cam. Cam, thanks for joining us today, man, and being so insightful. I'm going to let you give the closing statement on this one, man, because when I saw that a couple of days ago, I was like, yo, I have to play this. I definitely said I had to play this for MALIK.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. That's the greatest trick of all time. You know, the whole intangible potential talent thing. It's the greatest trick in the book for draft analysts because it's lazy. And you don't have to back it up with anything. You just say he's got the size, which you do the eye test thing, yeah. But if you do the tape for real, you're like, okay, there's a difference. That's exactly why I would judge it based on winners. Winners mixed with a combination of completion percentage and the teams you play. So if your win percentage in college football like J.J. McCarthy is 27-1, I think that value is way more than any potential from a skill set standpoint.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot to say about being a winner and being a gamer. And I think I definitely have a different perspective than you do on this, MALIK. I don't think it's that far off. I think that we have a lot of the same thoughts, especially, you know, like even me calling you a gamer. Like I always called you a gamer because I really believe that you were a winner and you were a gamer, and it was like, I mean, winning was the goal, not padding stats and doing all this other, like doing all this other stuff that I think sometimes quarterbacks get hung up on. Like you were competitive, energetic about winning, and you know that's huge. Now, I'll say that potential is always like, it's always something that is just exactly what it is. It's potential.
It's it's a wow factor, because then nobody ever considers the fact that you may have potential and then talent, but nobody considers the fact that you have to have a coach to develop it, and not everybody can develop talent. Patrick Mahomes is the luckiest man on the planet because he's one of the few that can have the talent and have the coach to allow that talent to be displayed. When you're putting talent around guys, like, for instance, you put talent around guys who aren't being in a good coach situation. A Malik Willis who has a lot of talent, raw talent, but doesn't have great coaching. He never gets to actualize that on the field. And you'll be like, oh, that's a bust. Jalen Hurts is a very lucky individual. Jalen Hurts in a different system, you wouldn't hear about him. But because he went to a system that catered to him, you got to see what it became in a potential Super Bowl. Now, he don't have the right coaching around. Now you don't even consider him in the top 10 quarterbacks. Just that fast.
Yeah.
So potential and talent mean a lot, but the coaching side has got to be the other side to determine the difference.
Yeah, that's why I'm always a little bit more hesitant to answer questions as straightforward as maybe you want me to on some of this stuff, because, you know, first of all, like, SHAUN was a really great quarterback, and like I know that there's, like, especially when it comes to that draft year and everything like that, there's a lot of things that can be said on the craziness of, you know, why he would be chosen number one by these experts versus some of these other guys that obviously have proven to be absolutely elite, including Patrick Mahomes. But like at the end of the day, it's time and place and right coaching staff, right? Like, everything that you're saying, Malik, does have such a factor in this. Like, we can play the what if game all day long and say, like, well, what if Tom Brady didn't end up with Bill Belichick, like, at the beginning of his career? Obviously, like, he goes and proves everybody, like, towards the end of the career that he didn't need Bill to go win a Super Bowl. But that's at the end of his career. Like, like Tom Brady was the perfect fit for Bill Belichick and that scheme and that offense. And I'm not saying that he wouldn't have been successful somewhere else, but it's hard for us to, you know, sit here and play the what if game about all of that. And there's also some components to Deshaun coming in behind a guy like Aaron Rodgers and really falling into line on, like, I think I'll just say it like this. I'll say it like this. This will sum it up, and then I'll be done. I think comparison is the biggest killer for athletes personally, and for fans and experts that try to make these comparisons in such a, like, straightforward manner. Like, you cannot compare Michael Jordan to anybody else that ever played the game of basketball. Like, you just can't. Like, we can't compare Michael Jordan and LeBron. They're two different types of players. They both bring an artistic capacity to the game that will never, like, that they individually brought, and is so great. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady right now. Like, there's all that discussion going on. And it's like, Tom Brady's response was so brilliant to all of this when he said, there's nothing that, like, that Patrick Mahomes can do that can take away from what I did in the game. And there's nothing that I did that can take away from what Patrick Mahomes is doing, you know, right now in his career. Like, that's not what it's about to me. It's about the fact that these guys, this individual artist, like came into the game and they, you know, had the grit, the wherewithal, the perseverance, all the variables that were around them to align the stars to make them like who they are in that game. It all worked. And they, like, the guys that are persistent with that, I'm going to use like a Rascal Flatts analogy for a second, but God bless the broken road that led me straight to you. It's that, knowing that this is going to be a little bit of a broken road. There's going to be ups and downs. There always is. This is the game of football, sports. This is like how it always works. And you have to be willing to embrace that. And the people that can embrace that adversity, you know, the most and creatively solve problems better than the next guy, they're going to like come out on top. And those are those, I don't want to call them intangibles since Malik slandered that a little bit, but, you know, let's say mental metrics or just these kind of these components to what make competitive athletes so great that we don't usually see until it's hindsight 2020, when we watch the documentary on Tiger Woods and we see like how all that went down. Like when we watch the documentary of Venus and Serena and we see like, wow, like so many people and so many young girls want to be them, but they don't realize like what they had to go through in order like to be them. And that's where I find like the beauty of sport and just kind of individual artistry in sport. So I'll leave it at that.
It's funny. Michael Park says this, and I think I know what he's saying, but I would push back and switch it because I think life is fair. I think life is tough. And in life being tough, it's fair. Like you get the opportunity. You get the time and chance. It happens to us all. And some miss their opportunities and they're not prepared for it. And the great ones always seem to be prepared and always seem to be willing to do more than what's required.
Yeah. Mike, I would say, one just challenge to kind of that mindset. I agree. Like there's a part of that I agree with, but there's another part that I want you to maybe embrace, that life is happening for you and not to you. And the the greats that we're talking about, they embrace that concept of life's happening for me, not to me. Because if life is happening to you, which a lot of athletes ultimately fall into that category of, oh my gosh, my coach, like this place, this blah, 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 all of that. Like when you get into that, I've seen athletes get into that and their careers usually start to just tank. And their capacity to play just like they can't play and flow from that place. You can't be in a flow state if you're in a victim mentality. It's impossible. And so there's a part of that you have to embrace. Hey, like, yeah, I'm gonna have some trials and tribulations. Yes, there's gonna be resistance. How am I going to address that though? What's my perspective ultimately going to be with that? And that's the difference between, these people that, go the distance and achieve greatness and excellence in these kind of arenas, and people that ultimately fall off the map. Because I can look back at my career and like I can see like where I played the victim card with myself and how that messed with my capacity to go play like in flow state, like the fullness of like what that was. And a lot of this does happen after injuries. It does happen after trials and adversity. And you can get stacked. I mean, look at here's actually the best example that I can think of. Somebody was asking me about, one of my best friends from Notre Dame was asking me about Drew Tranquil the other day and saying like, man, would you have thought that like Drew Tranquil would be having the success that he's having right now? And I was like, at the beginning, I knew that I loved Drew. Like that was one of the dudes that I hosted for his junior day and like around campus. Me and Drew are a lot alike in a lot of ways. what I realized about Drew, and like when I knew that he was going to be great, was how he came back after his first ACL surgery, and then how he came back after his second ACL surgery, and then how he went to the league and had the lower the high ankle break, and came back after that. Those are the components of a winner. Like, to face, I mean, that'll take 99.9% of people out of their careers every time. Going through that shit is hard, man. It's hard. It is hard to come back from an ACL. It's hard to come back from a lower leg injury like that. And to do that, you know, the amount of times that he has, on top of all the other little nicks that come with that, because you have these compensation patterns that you are constantly trying to balance out, and you're trying to fine tune like a high performance sports car, basically, like constantly having to make those tweaks. The fact that he has shown up and he's always had this glass half full instead of glass half empty mindset. And there's something about that I think we all need to be able to sit back and objectively look at and say, man, that makes a lot of sense.
Yo, and I love being around people like that. I love being around people like that, because I tell people all the time, you know, life is kind of like
they're the glue.
It's like a furnace. It's like a furnace, right?
Yeah, they're
like,
the glue in the culture that we were talking about. You want to be on your football team, you need a bunch of Drew Tranquils. Like, you need a Drew Tranquil on your team if you're gonna like go be like that great. You need guys that can like have that, like when it's just tough, when you're like spring ball or training camp or whatever, and it's like it's tough. Like, you need the guys that can come in with that glass half full energy instead of that glass, you know, half empty energy, and say, yo, what an amazing day. Like, we get to do this today. We get to play football at this time of our lives at the University of Notre Dame. And we got to wake up at this time, or like whatever, we've got to do this or that. But like, we only get this small little window to like be that type of person. And if you can just have the wherewithal to be present with that, man, I can't even express to you like how like much that changes everything. And, you know, I don't have regrets about anything in like my career or life or whatever, but I can definitely look back and see where my ego was getting in the way. And
man,
like, it could have just been a surrender moment, and I could have been like, man, how amazing is this? How amazing that I get to like be a part of something like this. And with my athletes now, like, that's my give back model, is like, if I'm working with somebody like to collapse a healing timeline, every time we're talking about this stuff right here, because this stuff is what matters most. And this stuff is actually what like gets these athletes back faster, because they start like buying into themselves again and buying into being present. And that allows you to love yourself and love your neighbor. And we're talking about culture and synergy. Like, that's the ticket. The ticket is like, can you do that? Can you put those pieces together like that? And man, that's
dude, Cam, let me tell you something. And I shared this yesterday, and we're gonna get out of here, man. Matter of fact, I know what it was, and I'll share with Cam what it was offline. But let's just say, you know, in the middle of Cam talking, something came to me, and I was like, Cam is our new Cam, life and fitness, whatever title we give it. Cam McDaniel just gave us our new show on Lucky Lefty Podcast Network. That's going to be debuting on Patreon. We've been trying to figure out, Cam, dude, we can tell we've been trying to figure out what in the world we can do on a consistent basis to get this type of content out, right? And when you just started talking, I was like, that's it. That's it. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can expect Cam McDaniel to be on Lucky Lefty Podcast Patreon, whether he wants to do it weekly with his guests, his topics, connecting Notre Dame sports in general to life and ministry or anything else, because the people are speaking. Every time you're on, Cam, the way you take and the direction you take and the branches off of the root of whatever the topic is, people enjoy it. So we're going to give it to them. And we're launching our Patreon next Monday. Quincy Avery. Some of you guys might not like him. Some of you guys might not. We got a fun conversation with him. Simeon Rice, who we think should be a Hall of Famer. We recorded that. So like we're dropping stuff outside of, this is content outside of Notre Dame. We're here every day talking Notre Dame with you guys. But the Patreon is going to be about Notre Dame, because I'm going to be dropping my practice reports right after practice over on the Patreon. You can watch that. You get first access to that before we talk about it. So, yo, Cam, I'll work it out with Cam offline. We'll figure it out.
Perfect.
Cam knows when I say something came to me, Cam knows exactly what I'm saying. But yo, I'm excited, yo. I'm excited because that just got me hyped. And that's the type of talk that I love. I love inspiring people. And like, you spoke highly of Malik. Cam, let me tell you something. The short time that I've known you, the level of inspiration and the gift that has been given to you, the way you speak and the way you can take topics and just literally build branches off of that root to inspire people. That I can't tell you, the last time you were on, we got at least 5 to 7 emails like, yo, how can I reach out to Cam to get that machine he has? Or how can I reach out to Cam to find out about grounding? It's just like, yo, people were connected to what you were saying. And since that is the case, I figure we might as well give it to them on a consistent basis, Cam. They're hungry. We might as well feed them.
It's awesome, man. Well, connect with you offline and we can chat about this more. I love this community and I love Malik and you and what you guys have put together here. I think spinning it differently is important. And and I like the back and forth between, different perspectives. I think that's key. That's
absolutely
like is part of life. And it's necessary. So how do we come in equanimity, like with the contrast? And so I got to, but love you guys, and thanks for having me on again, Sean and Malik. I'll talk to you soon.
Definitely, we'll chop it up. That's Cam McDaniel once again, right here, Lucky Lefty Podcast. Thanks to everybody that joined us today. No petty train today. Well, I will put Michael Penix on the petty train from the Senior Bowl. There's video out there where he was taking a picture with someone in Kalen DeBoer in an Alabama get up, tried to jump in the picture, and Michael Penix pushed him away. It's viral right now. So look, go vote. Once again, the expectations for Marcus Freeman's third year, historically a big year for Notre Dame head coaches. Yo, what's the bare minimum? What's your expectations for the bare minimum? 11 to 12 wins, playoff, semifinals, national championship. What's the bare minimum for you to feel like it's a successful season? Great show as always. You guys are the best. Lock in Audio Edibles every day, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up button. And then leave your comments. We respond to all Lucky Lefty podcasts. For Malik, Cam McDaniels, yo, you're happy. Chad Bowden stays at Notre Dame. And as always, have a great Thursday. But don't forget, you have to spin it different.